Imagine a man sitting alone in a cold, damp military tent on the northern frontier of the Roman Empire. It is late at night. Outside, the wind howls across the Danube River, carrying the sounds of barbarians preparing for war. Inside, the man is coughing, his body failing him. He is the most powerful human being on earth. He can snap his fingers and destroy cities. He possesses absolute authority over the known world. Yet, he is utterly miserable. This is Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome. History remembers him as the last of the 5 good emperors, but the title hides the crushing weight of his reality. He did not want to be emperor. He wanted to be a philosopher. He wanted a quiet life of books and study. Instead, fate handed him a crown of thorns. He spent nearly his entire reign at war, far from the comfort of Rome, surrounded by death and disease. But in that tent, under the flickering light of an oil lamp, he is doing something extraordinary. He is not planning a battle strategy. He is not writing a decree. He is writing a prescription for his own soul. He is building a mental fortress to keep from losing his mind. And in doing so, he accidentally wrote the greatest guide to resilience in human history. To understand the power of his philosophy, we must first understand the sheer scale of the chaos he faced. There is a modern misconception that Stoicism is easy when you are rich and powerful. People think Marcus Aurelius sat in a marble palace, detached from reality. This is false. His reign, from 161 to 180 AD, was a relentless nightmare. It began with the river Tiber flooding, destroying homes and livestock, which immediately triggered a famine in Rome. Then came the Parthian War in the east, and when the soldiers returned, they brought back something worse than defeat. They brought the Antonine Plague. It was a pandemic that devastated the empire, killing up to 5 million people. In Rome, carts were piled high with dead bodies every single day. Marcus had to sell the imperial palace jewels just to fund the funerals of his citizens. He was surrounded by conspiracy. His most trusted general, Avidius Cassius, betrayed him and declared himself emperor in Egypt. His wife was rumored to be unfaithful. His children died young. This was not a life of luxury. It was a life of constant crisis management. When we read his words today, we are reading the thoughts of a man standing in the center of a burning building, calmly figuring out how not to burn with it. This brings us to the most crucial fact about his book. It wasn't actually a book. Marcus Aurelius never titled his work Meditations. That title was added by scholars centuries later. The original text had no title or was simply marked as Tiis Houghton, which translates from Greek to himself. This distinction changes everything. Unlike almost every other philosophy book in history, this was not written for an audience. He was not trying to impress anyone. He was not trying to win a debate. He was not trying to secure his legacy. These were private notes, written in the quiet moments before dawn or after battles. He was coaching himself. When you read sentences like, "Stop drifting, stop letting yourself be pulled by every impulse," he isn't lecturing you. He is yelling at himself. He is struggling to wake himself up. This creates the raw, unfiltered honesty that is impossible to fake. We are effectively reading the diary of a man fighting depression, anxiety, and anger, using logic as his weapon. It is the only document of its kind in history, a sovereign ruler, looking in the mirror and stripping away his own ego until only the truth remains. There is a profound irony at the heart of Stoicism. Its 2 greatest teachers could not have been more different. On one side, you have Marcus Aurelius, the emperor. On the other, you have Epictetus. Epictetus was born a slave. He lived in poverty, and according to history, his leg was deliberately broken and crippled by a cruel master. One man owned the world. The other owned nothing, not even his own body. Yet, if you read their works side by side, you cannot tell them apart. They preached the exact same message. Why? Because Stoicism realized a fundamental truth about the human condition. External circumstances do not determine inner peace. The slave can be free in his mind, and the emperor can be a slave to his desires. Marcus revered Epictetus. He quotes him repeatedly in Meditations. This proves that the mental fortress is not about your bank account or your job title. It is about a specific way of processing reality. The emperor and the slave both faced the same enemy, not the world outside, but the chaos inside. They both realized that while they could not choose their roles in the play of life, they could choose how well they acted them out. So, how did Marcus actually build his fortress? It begins with the first and most critical rule of Stoicism, the dichotomy of control. This is the foundation. Without this, nothing else works. Epictetus opens his handbook with this single, thunderous truth. Some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us. It sounds obvious, but we almost never practice it. What is up to us? Our judgments, our intentions, and our own actions. That is it. What is not up to us? Everything else. Our body, our property, our reputation, and the actions of others. The Stoics argue that all suffering comes from a category error. We try to control things that are not in our power. We try to force the traffic to move faster. We try to force people to like us. We try to force the weather to be sunny. When we attach our happiness to these external things, we are handing the keys of our happiness to strangers and luck. Marcus wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the first wall of the fortress. This sounds simple, almost too simple. But let's apply it to the 21st century. We call this the algorithm of anxiety. Most modern stress is simply a refusal to accept the dichotomy of control. Let's look at a modern scenario. You post a photo on social media. You want people to like it. You want validation. You check your phone every 5 minutes. If you get likes, you feel good. If you get ignored, or worse, a nasty comment, you feel anxious and hurt. A Stoic would look at this and say, "You are insane. You have pinned your well-being on the opinions of strangers, something you mathematically cannot control. You have voluntarily enslaved yourself." The Stoic approach is different. The act of posting the photo is up to you. You can make it the best photo possible. That is your action. But the reaction of the audience, that is indifferent. It is outside the fortress. By practicing this separation, you hack the algorithm of anxiety. You stop shouting at the rain for being wet. You focus on carrying an umbrella. If the dichotomy of control is the foundation, then the inner citadel is the safe room. Marcus frequently writes about the idea that the mind, the ruling center, is a fortress that cannot be breached unless you open the gates yourself. He writes, "Things stand outside of us, themselves standing still, without knowing anything about themselves. It is we who form judgments about them." Think about what this means. An insult, a traffic jam, a lost contract. These things do not have physical hands to reach inside your chest and squeeze your heart. They are just atoms. They are just sound waves or ink on paper. They stand outside the door. But we, in our weakness, open the door. We invite them in. We say, "This is terrible," or "I am ruined." Marcus visualized his rational mind as a sphere, perfectly round and smooth. If he kept it polished, nothing could stick to it. The chaos of the war against the Germanic tribes could rage outside in mud, blood, and screaming, but inside the sphere of his mind, there was total silence. This is the inner citadel. It is the place within you that is untouchable by fire or steel, only by your own consent. How do we keep the gates of the citadel closed? We use what scholars call the discipline of perception. This is the art of stripping away the story. Humans are storytelling machines. We don't just see a red light. We see the universe conspiring to make me late. We add layers of judgment to simple facts. Marcus Aurelius had a brutal, almost funny technique for stripping these layers away. He was the emperor. He wore the purple dye, the ultimate symbol of status. He drank the finest Falernian wine. But listen to how he described these luxuries in his journal. This purple robe is just sheep's wool dyed with the blood of a shellfish. This vintage wine is just the fermented juice of a grape. And sexual intercourse is just the friction of an entrail and the ejection of mucus. Why speak so crudely? He wasn't being a pessimist. He was deconstructing reality. He was scrubbing away the glamour that society paints on things. He was training his brain to see things exactly as they are, objectively, without the adjectives. When you strip away the adjectives good or bad, you strip away the power things have over you. As he said, take away the judgment, I am hurt, and the hurt itself disappears. But what happens when disaster actually strikes? When the problem isn't just in your head. This brings us to the most dynamic tool in the Stoic arsenal, turning the obstacle into the path. In 175 AD, Marcus faced his worst nightmare. Avidius Cassius, his best general and old friend, declared that Marcus was dead and seized the throne. It was a civil war. Most leaders would have reacted with rage and immediate violence. Marcus did not. He saw the betrayal not as a disaster, but as an opportunity. He told his troops that this was a chance to show the world how to forgive and how to settle a civil war without bloodshed. He famously said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Imagine a fire. If you throw a small stick into a candle, it puts the flame out. But if you throw a giant log into a roaring bonfire, the fire engulfs it. It consumes the obstacle and burns hotter because of it. Marcus was the bonfire. The betrayal fueled his virtue. He didn't just tolerate the problem, he used the problem. In the end, Cassius was killed by his own men, and Marcus grieved for him. He had turned a potential catastrophe into a masterclass of leadership. There is a dangerous misunderstanding about Stoicism that we need to correct right now. In modern English, when we say someone is stoic with a small s, we usually mean they are emotionless. We imagine a statue or a robot suppressing all feelings. We think of Mr. Spock from Star Trek. But this is not what Marcus Aurelius practiced. The ancient Stoics did not try to eliminate emotions. That is impossible. They tried to domesticate them. Seneca, another great Stoic, described this perfectly. He said that when a frightening event happens, like a sudden loud noise or a storm at sea, even a Stoic will feel a flash of fear. His heart will race. His skin will pale. This is biology. This is the first movement of emotion. You cannot control it. But the Stoic differs in the second movement. The non-Stoic says, "I'm afraid, therefore the situation is terrible." The Stoic feels the fear, acknowledges it, and then says to himself, "My body is reacting, but my mind remains safe." Marcus wept when his friends died. He felt anger when he was betrayed. But he did not let those emotions hijack the steering wheel. He felt them, processed them, and let them go. He was not a stone. He was a master of his own house. When the pressure of running an empire became too much, when the petty arguments of the Senate or the insults of his enemies started to consume him, Marcus used a mental exercise that scholars call the view from above. He would close his eyes and use his imagination to zoom out. He would imagine looking down on himself from the ceiling, then from the clouds, then from the stars. From that height, the borders of the Roman Empire are just lines in the dust. The great armies look like colonies of ants fighting over a crumb of bread. He wrote, "Think of the substance of a universe, of which you have such a small share. Think of all the time that has passed, of which a brief instant is given to you. This is not meant to make you feel depressed or insignificant. It is meant to be liberating. It crushes the ego. When you realize how small you are in the grand scheme of the cosmos, your anxieties shrink to match. That email you are worried about, that rude comment, from the view of the stars, they do not exist. This perspective shifts you from a self-centered panic to a cosmic calm." Perhaps the most relatable struggle Marcus faced was other people. He dealt with liars, schemers, and incompetents daily. Yet, he famously opened Book 2 of Meditations with a plan for handling them. He reminds himself, Today, I shall meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, and unsocial. He predicts it. He doesn't hope for a good day. He prepares for a realistic one. But here is the twist. He doesn't say avoid them or fight them. He says we must work with them. He writes, they act this way because they do not know the difference between good and evil. But I have seen the beauty of the good, and I know that this wrongdoer has a nature related to my own. He uses the metaphor of the body. He says we are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like rows of teeth upper and lower. To hate another person is like the top row of teeth declaring war on the bottom row. It is self-destruction. By viewing difficult people not as enemies, but as ignorant relatives or malfunctioning parts of the same machine, he replaces anger with pity and patience. He protects his own character by refusing to be infected by theirs. If the view from above zooms us out, then sympathia connects us back in. This is the Greek word for mutual feeling or interconnectedness. It is easy to think of Stoicism as a lonely philosophy, a man alone in his fortress. But Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that he was part of a larger organism. He famously wrote, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings no benefit to the bee." He believed that the universe is a single living being, and we are all individual cells within it. When we hurt others, or when we isolate ourselves, we are like a cancer cell attacking its own body. This was a radical idea for a Roman emperor. He didn't see his subjects as tools to be used, but as fellow limbs working toward a common goal. This shifts our perspective on duty. We don't do good things to get a reward or a thank you. We do good because it is our nature, just as it is the nature of an eye to see or a vine to produce grapes. When you help another person, you are simply fulfilling your function in the cosmic ecosystem. You are being a good bee, and a good bee doesn't ask for a medal, it just makes honey. Now we approach the most famous and perhaps most misunderstood tool of all, memento mori. Remember, you must die. In modern culture, we hide death. We sanitize it. We put it in hospitals. We pretend it won't happen. The Stoics did the opposite. They kept death in their pocket. Marcus wrote a sentence that should probably be printed on your bathroom mirror. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, and say and think. This is not morbid. It is not meant to make you sad. It is a tool for prioritization. It creates clarity. When you truly accept that your time is finite and that the end could come today, the trivial things vanish. Would you spend your last day on Earth arguing with a stranger on the internet? Would you spend it worrying about a promotion? Of course not. You would focus on what matters. You would tell your family you love them. You would watch the sunset. Death is not the robber of life. It is the lens that focuses it. By thinking about death daily, Marcus learned how to truly live. He didn't waste time because he knew the clock was always ticking. Finally, we reach the summit of the mountain. It is not enough to just accept what happens. The ultimate goal is Amor Fati, a Latin phrase coined later by Nietzsche, but perfectly embodied by Marcus. It means the love of fate. Imagine you are a soldier in a great army. The general orders you to hold a difficult position. You don't just go there begrudgingly, dragging your feet. You go with enthusiasm because you trust the general's plan. For Marcus, the general was nature or the universe. He wrote, "Everything is fruit to me, which thy seasons bring, O nature." This is a profound shift. Acceptance is passive. Loving fate is active. It means looking at your suffering, your losses, and even your failures and saying, this is necessary. This is part of the plot. I embrace it. It is the difference between being dragged by a car and driving it. When you love whatever happens, you become invincible. You can't lose, because everything that happens is exactly what you wanted, because it is what nature decided. You might be thinking, this is all very poetic, but does it actually work scientifically? The answer is a resounding yes. In the 1950s, a revolution happened in psychology. Dr. Aaron Beck and Dr. Albert Ellis developed cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. Today, it is the gold standard for treating anxiety and depression. And guess what they based it on? Stoicism. CBT is essentially Stoicism without the togas. The core discovery of modern psychology is that our emotions do not come directly from events. They come from our beliefs about events. It follows a pattern. B. CA is the activating event. C is the consequence, your sadness or anger. But in the middle is B, your belief. If you change B, you change C. Marcus Aurelius was practicing cognitive reframing 2,000 years before we had a name for it. When he wrote, "The universe is change, life is opinion," he wasn't just being philosophical. He was hacking his own neurology. He proved that you can rewire your brain by persistently challenging your own automatic thoughts. So, how do we actually do this? We don't just think it. We write it. This brings us back to the physical reality of meditations. It was a journal. For the Stoics, writing was not a hobby. It was a form of hygiene. Just as you brush your teeth every morning to prevent decay, you must journal to prevent mental decay. Marcus wrote a beautiful phrase, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If you constantly think angry thoughts, your soul turns red. If you think fearful thoughts, it turns gray. Writing is the bleach. When you write down a fear, you trap it on paper. You take it out of your head, where it is a vague monster, and put it on the page, where it is just a sentence. Once it is a sentence, you can analyze it. You can dismantle it. We recommend a simple practice, the evening review. Before you sleep, write down what upset you today. Then rewrite it using the view from above or the dichotomy of control. Don't just record history, edit your perspective on it. In the year 180 AD, the final test arrived. Marcus was at his military headquarters in Vindobona, modern-day Vienna. The plague had finally caught him. He was 58 years old, frail, and unable to eat. The last good emperor was dying. This is the moment where most philosophies crumble. It is easy to be a Stoic in a classroom. It is hard to be a Stoic on your deathbed. But Marcus remained consistent to the very end. Witnesses say he was calm. He was not afraid of the void. He was worried about his friends. He urged them to leave the room so they wouldn't catch his illness. When the guard came to ask for the password for the night, Marcus whispered, "Go to the rising sun, for I am already setting." He covered his head with his sheets and went to sleep forever. He didn't solve all the world's problems. He left behind a son, Commodus, who would unfortunately ruin the empire. But that was out of his control. Marcus had conquered the only territory that truly mattered, his own mind. He died as he lived, a warrior of the inner citadel. So, what does this mean for us? We are not Roman emperors. We do not command legions or rule empires. But in a way, our challenge is harder. We live in a world of infinite noise, constant notifications, and global anxiety. We need this philosophy more than Marcus did. The mental fortress is not built of stone. It is built of habits. It is the habit of pausing between the event and your reaction. It is the habit of asking, "Is this in my control?" It is the habit of looking at a difficult boss and seeing a fellow human being who is struggling. It is the habit of remembering that you will die, so you must live now. Stoicism is not a dusty old book. It is an active operating system for the modern mind. It promises that while you cannot control the world around you, you can achieve something even better. You can be unconquerable. You can be happy, even in a burning building. We started this journey with a question. How did a man carry the weight of the whole world without breaking? The answer is simple. He didn't. Marcus Aurelius never carried the weight of the world. He realized that the world is heavy only if you try to hold it. He put the world down. He carried only what was his to carry, his own mind, his own character, and his own choices. That is the secret. You don't need to be an emperor to find peace. You just need to stop carrying things that aren't yours. Which of Marcus Aurelius's mental tools do you need most right now? Is it the dichotomy of control, or perhaps the view from above? Leave a comment below and let us know. We read every perspective. If you found value in this analysis and want to support more in-depth documentaries like this, please like and subscribe to Stratum Logic. Join our community of curious minds as we decode the wisdom of the past to navigate the future. Thank you for deep thinking with us.